Hey everybody, how are you? Hope you're doing well. So do me a favor before we get started. I need you to hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, I need you to hit the subscribe button and notification bell next to it so that you will not miss an episode. So as you know, there's a lot going on, but we're going to talk about how to become financially free with 5 rental properties. First of all, I'm going to recap on what does it mean to be financially free. So this is actually a concept. Financial freedom. And what it means is you have enough assets to cover all of your liabilities. So instead of getting up, going to work every day, um, time to make the donuts. Anybody remember that commercial? So instead of spending your time to get money, instead of exchanging time for money, your assets are creating the money that you need and it covers all of your liabilities. Right? So that's one of the differences between the wealthy and the poor is that the wealthy, they don't exchange their time for money. All right. So the wealthy have assets. So that's one of the differences. As you know, there's also this long history, right, of where everything was taken. So it's a little bit more complicated. All right. But okay, so to recap, what are assets? So assets are things that create money. So, for example, well, they put money in your pocket. That's what I'm trying to say. So, examples of assets, concrete examples of assets, real estate. And when I say real estate, I mean investment properties, the stock market, and a business. All right, those are some examples of assets. You also have cryptocurrency. So, those are some examples of assets. So, financial freedom, you have enough assets to cover all of your liabilities. And once you have reached that point, you are considered financially free. You no longer have to work for money. You're not working because you have to work. If you work, you're working because you want to work, not because you have to. And that's a difference in financial freedom. So that's a concept. Um, and some people are not familiar with that concept, and other people are familiar with that concept. And of course, that is by design, right? So a lot of these things are hidden and they don't want you to know, right? Because if they wanted you to know, you would know already, all right? So that's just a recap on financial freedom, all right? So we're going to talk about how to become financial free with 5 rental properties. Okay, so when you think about rental property, if you already own a rental property, you know that a rental property is going to generate you around $300, $500. And if you bought a rental property believing that that's going to make you free, then you have a rude awakening because there are gurus out here that will tell you it only takes one, right? So you buy that one rental property, it's going to generate about $300 or $500 a month, right? So you got your difference in expectations. So, however, when it comes to financial freedom, it's important to look at other strategies that are going to pay you more money besides your traditional buy and hold. So your traditional buy and hold is going to bring in $300, $500 a month. However, there are other strategies that are going to bring in more money than that. 1.5x even to 3x depending on what strategy you use. So looking into things like Airbnb if you're interested in that, looking into things like midterm rentals, and looking into things like rent by the room. So, if you're a younger person watching me and you don't have a family yet and you don't mind living with other people, um, even house hacking would be a strategy. And so, house hacking, say that you have a house, for example, and say there are, um, let's see, 4 rooms in this house. So, renting out each room, $800 per person. And that would be an example of house hacking, which would be way a higher wage strategy than this other strategy that you're familiar with of buy and hold. All right. So looking into the other strategies that are going to 1.5x or even 3x that rental income from the traditional buy and hold. So looking into Airbnb or midterm rental or rent by the room or house hacking. So getting a different strategy than the traditional strategy of just going and buying a house and holding it. All right. So let's see. Say that you have 5 properties and they are paid off, right? Paid off. So that's going to generate you enough money to be financially free, of course, right? All right. So say they're not paid off, right? So looking into these other strategies is going to get you there faster. So a midterm rental strategy is going to get you faster than just buying a house and renting it out. All right. So getting into the habit of buying property on a regular basis. So you're essentially buying your freedom. So you get free by buying your freedom. So buying property on a regular basis. As you know, right now, um, with the markets, there are not a lot of people out here buying. And however, what real estate investors do is real estate investors they're buying no matter what the market is doing. So you know a lot of people are not buying right now because the houses are too high, interest rates are too high, and a lot of people are still on the sidelines. However, real estate investors they buy no matter what the markets are doing. So getting into the habit of buying on a regular basis, building a team. Building a team is important. Um, as you know, real estate is a team effort. And if you are solo, like me, you can still get a team. And so by a team, I mean a property manager. You can get a realtor. You can get a real estate attorney. You can get a contractor. So you're still essentially solo, right? Doing this solo. However, you still can acquire a team. So a team is important because they are going to have expertise in their own specific areas, right? So you can do this solo if you're solo. Other people are working together, and of course, it's going to be much easier if you're working together, right? But if you're solo, you can still make it, all right? So building a team, all right? You see, you're going to hold it, right? So you're not flipping, you're holding it. So why would you hold it versus flip it? Well, when you hold it, you are building your appreciation up, you're building your equity up. So say for example, you have $100,000 house. The $100,000 house will eventually be worth 300,000. So if you bought it with the expectation of flipping it, you bought it 100,000 and now you're going to sell it maybe 150,000 where you could have had it 300,000. See what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with flipping if you're flipping for the purpose of immediate cash to go buy more property. But it's better to just buy and hold. Buy and hold. You're building equity. Equity is your net worth. You're building your net worth. People get high net worths from equity. So you're building your equity. You are building your appreciation. There's increased growth in the neighborhood. There is increasing growing demand. All right. And then with the building of the equity, you're going to use the equity. You're going to use the equity. You could do several things with equity. You can use the equity to go buy a business, get into other ventures that are making you money. Use the equity to go buy a business. Um, you can refinance when the interest rate drops. So right now we're around 7% interest rate. If the interest rate drops maybe down to 5%, you could refinance, pull out the cash, use that money to go buy another property. All right, to grow that way. All right. You could also use the cash flow from the property if you choose to pay off the rentals. So don't over leverage. Don't over leverage. That's important not to over leverage. So you don't want to have a whole bunch of properties that you have debt on. So some kind of plan of eventually paying it off. So you could use the cash flow to pay it off if you choose, or you could sell a property to pay it off, to pay off other properties if you choose, but having some kind of strategy to eventually get those houses paid off. Also, the tenant that is in that house is helping to pay down the debt off of that house. All right. All right. So that is one way to become financially free, and that is through real estate. Real estate is going to build your wealth. All right. Now, of course, there are several other ways to become wealthy. One of those being business, getting into business, and then there are several other ways to become wealthy. Investing in the stock market. Um, However, when it comes to investing in the stock market, um, it's going to take a little bit longer. So I would say the shortest path would be business. If you're in the right business, of course, it has to be a right business. And then real estate is a long-term game for building your wealth. All right. So do me a favor, if you like the channel, I need for you to hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, I need for you to hit that subscribe button and notification bell next to it so that you won't miss an episode. If you made it this far in the video, type in the words financial freedom. If you're interested in buying real estate now or in the future, check out the link below. Join the wait list for the real estate group. So we get into funding, like where you're going to get the money to buy this real estate in the first place. All right. Speaking of that, um, I was approved. For a loan, and my story is I went through 5 lenders. So I interviewed a guy on the show, and he went through 19 lenders. So he got 18 no's before he got a yes. All right. So I got 4 no's before I got a yes. Somebody else I interviewed on the podcast, one of my questions to him was, where did you get the financing for the real estate? And he told me it's not rocket science, right? But keep in mind, this was a white guy that I was talking to. And if you didn't notice, there's a difference out here when it comes to lending. All right. Um, the name of it is called redlining. All right. So redlining existed in history where they would not give out loans to certain people. Um, and redlining is still here in 2025. It still exists. All right. So for him, where to get the funding is not rocket science. But if you can see, I'm not white and I'm not a man. All right. And there is a difference out here when it comes to lending, if you want to admit it or not. All right. So I did get approved. I was encouraged by the fact that the other guy I interviewed, he went through 19, right? So that encourages you to keep going. All right. So if you're interested in joining a real estate community and you would like to know where you're going to get the money from to buy this real estate, we talk about that. We discuss that. So click the link if you are interested in joining. Also, if you are a handsome man watching me, check out the hat collection, and that is in the pinned link below. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I will see you on the next video.